All right, we are exactly 1 month away from the NFL draft. Exactly 1 month from today, the NFL draft will be happening. Lots of chatter about what the Texans will and won't do. It is SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. How are we going to pass the time?
Well, I mean, we got plenty to talk about with this current Texans team, and just getting ready for that draft, man. It'll be here before you know it. 31 days will go by just like that.
All right, so let's hop right into this. We wanted to do an exercise about the way in which the Texans spend money and the way that they use cap space. We're kind of in the putting a bow on free agency. I think you can safely say that with the Wyatt Teller signing. Maybe something happens, like small stuff here and there. For the most part, like you can look at what they've done in free agency and have a good grasp of it. And it got me to thinking, okay, big spending, small spending, moderate spending. What does it look like in the 3-year, now the fourth offseason has begun with Caserio and D'Amico, and you put together some graphics for this exercise. I think this is a good exercise just to take a look and maybe lay out expectations and some nuance into the way the Texans have spent free agent money, not just this year, but in years past.
Yeah. So what I did was I went and put together all the players that they added via free agency. So this is not guys that they traded for and extended or guys that they extended. So for an example, Dalton Schultz's first contract is on here, not his second contract or his add-on that they did this year. Just kind of look at players that were on other teams they went and added and brought to the equation. In those 4 off seasons, they spent about $420 million, with the average total value of the contract being about $6 million. And I feel like this is a pretty good, just lay the foundation. This is how they've gone and spent their money. Obviously, they've spent a tremendous amount on extensions, big rookie deals with some of those early rookie contracts that they had. Stingley was a big rookie deal and then a big extension. CJ and Will were big rookie deals, but that just kind of lays the land. And then this was really the one that I felt was the most interesting. This is the year-by-year average spend. So 2023, they went with a little bit of a cheaper approach. 2024 was obviously the Azeez, Danico Autry. And then looking at 2026, they've only signed a handful of players, but your average value of the contract way higher than anything before, which kind of goes to show you this is the first time they've had that big approach in free agency on the offensive line primarily. Now, obviously, they've done big deals with extensions, but free agent spending way up on the average contract here in 2026 so far.
Yeah, and I think if we were to compare, like let's say that I put you on the spot and I say, okay, Cody, let's compare the way that they spent money this offseason to another offseason before. I would say it's kind of a higher scale 2025. Like it's 2023, they weren't as aggressive as they were in 2024, but I would say it's like a real jacked up version of 2025.
Yeah, it's intriguing to me because it's a different approach, but it's also like there's some concern about this player and that player, but they still went out and made a real big investment on defense, which they didn't really do in 2025 in free agency. They added to the offensive line, which we like the players they used in 2026 more than 2025. It kind of feels like a market correction off of a failed 2025 to me, more than like a souped up version of 2025. Like we failed here. We needed to make sure we didn't fail in 2026.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a balance between, the all in that people want and the still trying to spend smart money. It's kind of an in between type of vibe.
Now, obviously, too, I think one thing to kind of put into context, they'll probably get up to about close to 20 players when free agency is all said and done. Obviously, 23, 24, and 25 include every free agent they brought in. So some of those are really small numbers, really small investments. But I tried to kind of tick off guys that, were there for the offseason and then didn't do anything, stuff like that. So I just think this to me more than any of the other off seasons felt like you've got to do something, and you got to do something more than the previous year. And the money spent certainly right now shows that from that standpoint.
Yeah, I think even on the offensive line, I don't know if everyone is satisfied with it, but I think on the offensive line, you made some interesting moves and you were more aggressive for sure than you were last year. And how that impacts the draft is something that we've been kind of discussing. I actually have a theory. I think there could be a Cam Robinson situation, and who that may be may surprise you. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show.
I also think, too, with free agent spending, when you do spend on a more notable player, hope is something that comes with that player. Like in Tomlinson, for whatever they spent on him, less than $5 million. Yeah, he's the starting left guard, but when it's not going right, you're like, well, that was a wasted $5 million. If Wyatt Teller starts a little slow or Braden Smith starts a little slow, there's at least hope that they could play back to a little bit closer of a level than they previously have shown. Whereas it felt like when Laken Tomlinson's out there and it's not looking good, well, he shot. That was wasted $5 million. Probably shouldn't have done that. Probably shouldn't have just handed in the left guard spot. We knew pretty quick that wasn't going to work out. And then, Cam Robinson lost his damn job in training camp. He got hurt in training camp, and then the only reason he started again was because Ed Ingram got dinged up before week 1.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting when you look at the offensive line, because if they would have known they were going to take Ariante Ursery, maybe they never signed Cam Robinson, but you can't function like that. Like you can't function like that. You have to have someone, and then you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to make tough decisions whenever those decisions come up. We'll talk about that in a sec, but let's get a little bit more into this money and just let's divide this into kind of tax brackets, for lack of a better term.
I like this. This is good. This is a good way to look at it. The Texans, this is a pretty fun list they put that I put together here. This is deals over $10 million in total value that they've signed in the 4 seasons that D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio have been together for an offseason. Obviously, Daniil Hunter and Azeez Al-Shire kind of in their own category, but Danico Autry is a $20 million deal. Reed Blankenship's a $25 million deal if he plays it out. Braden Smith's a $20 million deal. And then you go a little bit lower. Wyatt Teller's well over $10 million. Robert Woods got a big contract back in the day. I forgot how big Robert Woods' initial deal was. It was a pretty big contract, almost $15 million. And then you see Jimmy Ward, Cam Robinson, and Logan Hall here. A couple of these things are not like the others. I think there's a little bit more hope for some of these bigger numbers in those first 3 lines. And then there's a little bit less hope for the bottom 2 lines. I think people like the Wyatt Teller signing, but you have to hope for some bounce back. I didn't think Robert Woods was going to have L.A. Robert Woods when he got here initially. And then Jimmy Ward, we knew there were injury concerns.
Yeah, I would say 4 and 2 here. I would say you did a good job with Daniil Hunter and Azeez Al-Shire. Daniil Hunter is kind of an easy one if you have the money to spend. Autry was a flop. TBD on Blankenship, Smith, Teller. I think Woods was fine. I think they actually needed a veteran receiver at that point. So he obviously aged, but with the flexible money you had, I thought it was fine. Although you kind of he was the 14-year-old golden retriever on the back end. So it was kind of
before Dalton.
Yeah, before Dalton. And then Jimmy Ward, I thought was a good signing. It was one of D'Amico's first ones. It was his guy. It's always the extension that kind of gets him with some of these guys. And then Cam Robinson was, I think we can all agree, a disaster, and TBD on Logan Hall. So in the heavy investments that they've made, they've actually done a pretty good job, which maybe that makes you feel pretty optimistic about Braden Smith and Wyatt Teller. I didn't include Reed Blankenship because maybe this is just my overconfidence, but it just feels like Reed Blankenship is just a no-brainer, gonna fit in some way, shape, or form into this defensive signing. And maybe that's me counting the eggs before they hatch. I don't know that I need any data to feel more confident in the contract that they provided him with.
My expectations for Blankenship are just at worst just fit in and be a solid player. And then obviously if he's better than solid, he's worth every penny. And he's going to be a fun addition. I do think it's notable that, 4 of these 10 deals come in this offseason. Blankenship, Smith, Teller, and Hall, which again, lends itself to some of the heavier, like this isn't even just like total investment, because obviously total investment this offseason for per player was higher, but 4 of the 10 deals they signed in this offseason that they've signed total value over $10 million. And they're going to definitely rely on 2 of them on offense, and they're going to rely on Blankenship to be a starter. And we'll see on Logan Hall. He's, you know, it's a bet on potential and a bet on their coaching staff on defense, which is that's the side of the ball you're going to bet on with the coaching staff.
Speaking of value, Spanky's this Friday. Best value in town, best happy hour in town, best place to hang out, talk Texans. Less than a month away from the draft. The last one was popping. That was free agency. Now we're getting into full draft mode. We want you there. 3 o'clock this Friday, 27th, Spanky, Sharpstown. Homemade dough, homemade sauce. Lots of stuff to get into. We hope to see you there around 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about Spanky's. I was thinking I really wanted some pizza this week, so I'm going to do a little half and half again, but I'm getting 2 half and halves that I've never gotten before. I'm going to try 2 new menu items in the pizza that I tried this Friday, and I think I'm getting the cheesy breadsticks. I saw those 2 weeks ago, and I got to get the cheesy breadsticks.
Which pizzas are you trying?
The cheese one that you say, the extra cheese one.
Toppings. It's the 2 toppings, yeah.
And then I might swing on something that I wouldn't usually get for the other one.
Okay, there we go.
Kind of make my way through the menu.
And if you can't wait today, it's around $12 for a large one topping. You can throw the extra toppings in there and still get a good value. So yeah, check that out. Let's go to Z Chats. Exactly a month away from the draft.
Swarm.
Dominic C says the Alpha Wilson, the Omega Stoots Spank special ?
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
It's the Alpha's the beginning and then Omega's the end, I guess. So, yeah. I don't know. Omega Stoots. I don't know about that. It sounds like a bad Halloween costume I tried one year.
Oh.
One day I would. Don't say something stupid.
You've been known to have some bad Halloween costumes.
I've been known to have some badass Halloween costumes. Thank you very much. I have said, and I would never expect the people at Spanky's to do this, but I have said a goal I'd like to achieve in my life is to have a menu item named after me at a restaurant. So we'll see.
We got to get the SNL pizza. We just got to ask them. They'll do it. Just say, like, can we get the SNL pizza?
You know what? I think that's probably like a football season, like a kickoff to football season special, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I agree. Logan Taylor 6213 says JSN contract is ridiculous. Nico's deal looks great.
These wide receiver contracts are just hilarious to me. Like I think JSN's fantastic. He's one of the best wide receivers in all of football. And it's funny that he's going to be the highest paid wide receiver for a week, 2 weeks, and then Puka Nacua is going to, beat him out. I understand wanting to be first, but I also, from like a greed standpoint, I'm almost wondering if these guys are like, yeah, can we wait a little bit longer?
Yeah, I don't think Nico's in the same class as JSN, so I think it's Nico's deal does look good. I think Nico was smart to get out in front of it because he knows the durability questions and whatnot. So I think Nico when he's at his best is up there, but I think JSN's just in a different class right now than Nico.
Yeah, there's plenty of contracts that, despite the fact they're more expensive than Nico Collins, they're very much worth the investment. Like JSN's contract, Jamar Chase's. I think Jefferson's worth the money. He just hadn't had a quarterback to get him the ball. Obviously, CD Lamb's fantastic. Nico's many catches, many touchdowns, and many yards away from some of those guys.
Yeah, but it is definitely a good value, and it's definitely good to have. I do worry about like an extension. Like, is it necessary?
Oh, I think he's the next Daniil Hunter, where we're looking around like, why?
Yeah, we talk about the value and stuff. I think whenever you have to make tough decisions, it seems like the first guy is the wide receiver. So maybe Nico, like we talk about Stingley, Lassiter, like all that. Maybe Nico's like the first tough decision they make. I don't know that an extension is smart. You know what? You know the most impressive stat about JSN 3 years in?
What's that?
17.
Ooh.
It's the amount of games that he's played in 3 years. So Nico Collins has never played 17 games in a season. Jackson Smith has played 17 games in every season. So yeah, it's different. But I mean, I think you're very fortunate right now to have a bargain. Don't be scared of the bargain. Don't be scared of the bargain. I mean, especially like when he signed his extension, he missed a month. And then this year, he didn't play in the playoffs. Like
he didn't play the most important game of the season.
2 games. Yeah, or a game and a half, because the Pittsburgh was where it happened. So yeah, just don't work yourself into a non-bargain when you have a bargain. Don't be scared.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I would think that if Nico gets a new deal, it comes with a big raise. I wouldn't do that. I would just let him play 26 and 27, and then just kind of think about the situation if I was the Texans.
This is funny. Life of Lou 787 says Nico could be as good as JSN if he had a better QB throwing to him. I mean, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, I wouldn't say he's like quite had like God's gift to quarterbacks.
I don't know about all that. I think the Texans would take JSN for Nico right now. Right now, even with the money.
Swarm.
Kyle Nance, and I think CJ can be Sam Darnold. Like let's be serious. Like it's not the craziest thing to think that he can start. I mean, he hasn't been the last couple of seasons, but I think he can be. Kyle Nance says if Pregnon's drafted, I bet Teller loses his job. All right, let's just bring this up. We'll call this an assist from Kyle Nance. He throws it up. What does happen? What do you believe happens if Pregnon is on the clock? By the way, have we gotten the official age? I've seen 5 different birth dates from Pregnon. AI is making like the internet way more difficult. I did it live on my stream. I got 3 different birth dates, different ages. He was in college for a while, so
yeah. My assumption is he's 25 years old.
That's the assumption, yes. 24, 25. But I've seen 23.
I mean, are we doing like Cuban baseball player here where we don't know his age and we're just kind of guessing?
It's weird, man. Like if you get in the search of it, it's weird. But yeah, it seems 24, 25.
I'm probably the wrong person to be asking players' ages because I got duped by the stupid contract website.
Well, that just kind of adds to it. But regardless, like what happens if Pregnon is on the clock? Like has the offensive line movement, has that created a situation where Pregnon is not an option, whether it be 28, 38, whatever?
I would draft Emmanuel Pregnon because both of these guards missed time last year. Ingram didn't miss as much, but Wyatt Teller missed time. He's had some durability stuff pop up, and you're going to need somebody after Wyatt Teller's contract or after Ingram's contract to play those positions, and having a guy who maybe needs a little bit of technique adjustment, a little bit of seasoning in there, ready to go once Wyatt Teller's served this purpose or once that Ingram served this purpose. It's not the worst idea in the world. It is tough to kind of wrap your head around from that standpoint because you'd love 28 and 38 to help 2026 a lot and help the future. And I don't know that if you plan on Wyatt Teller being available, I don't know that Pregnon helps in 2026 as much, but I would still make the investment and have a really impressive backup, you would think. Certainly more impressive than some of the other backup guards they've had in recent years. You have a really impressive backup for a position that has to be good all year long, and 2 guys in front of him that missed a little bit of time last year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And Pregnon doesn't seem to be mocked in any first rounds. So it seems like he's going to the second round, and then you start to really wonder. But let's just hypothetically say that the Texans decide, okay, whenever they take Pregnon, like whenever it is they take Pregnon. I actually think that if I were betting, like if I could do a parlay, I would actually think that would put Ed Ingram in danger more than Teller, because, and this is my explanation of this. And I actually came to this conclusion yesterday on the stream. And shout out to all the people that were in the stream that kind of got the exercise going. That's why we like the chat and the dialogue. So Ed Ingram has 1 year body of work where he performed at a good level. And I'm not questioning it. He performed at a good level after a few disappointing years in Minnesota. the investment that they made in Ed Ingram, like if you just lay out like the years, it's kind of similar to the Cam Robinson. Like it's a little bit similar, but it's a younger player. It's not a guy that's damaged goods. There's more reason for optimism that the best is ahead with Ed Ingram than with Cam Robinson, where you kind of knew what you were going to get. You just didn't know if it could even be worse than what you thought you were going to get. But with that 1 year body of work, by comparison, and we don't, and this is just assuming that Teller still has some stuff left in the tank. Teller has over a half decade of really good ball at right guard. And that's been what he's been at the All-Pro level and at the Pro Bowl level, at right guard. And Pregnon, on the flip side, he played right guard at Wyoming. Wasn't great. Like, it was okay. It was good, but it wasn't elite. And then when he moved to the left side and he played left guard at USC and then at Oregon, it was elite. So while we're trying to do this shuffle, I think naturally and appropriately, you look at Ed Ingram and you say, well, yeah, he's a young guy, so you want to go young on the offensive line. I could actually see a scenario where Pregnon's your left guard. If this happened, Pregnon's your left guard and Wyatt Teller is competing on the right side with Ed Ingram. That it makes more sense, like when you lay it out that way. Because why would you want if you're telling me right now that Teller's not going to start and you want him to compete, why not have Ed Ingram competing with a Pro Bowl right guard and you have a creme de la creme left guard on this side? It seems like it would make sense. I'm not a shuffler, but we know King Cole likes to shuffle, and he's not too scared of money. He's not too scared of any of that. I think it makes more sense. And I came to this conclusion yesterday. And I don't even know. They might have done enough to where they're not even entertaining the possibility of Pregnon. But if he's on the roster, feels like Ed Ingram would be this year's potential Cam Robinson.
Man, that would be a real bad contract extension then.
Well, not if he ends up being a good player, and chances are that you'll need him throughout the season, and he's still under contract and he's available. It is what it is at that point. But I get it. But again, you can't function as if you knew that Pregnon was or was not going to be there, much like last year with Ursery. So sometimes, I don't want to call it counting your losses. I think Ed Ingram probably has a little bit better future ahead of him than what Cam Robinson did at the time. I think sometimes just pivots are not always comfortable.
I mean, look, I'm in favor of playing whoever's better at right guard. So if it's Ed Ingram, play Ed Ingram. If it's Teller, play Teller. And if Emmanuel Pregnon's the draft pick, the guard from Oregon, and they put him at left guard, and that's what we're watching. Cool. Put the best guy at each position out there. But man, $19 million for your two key backups and Ed Ingram and Trent Brown, that's a vast misuse of money.
No, I get it. I mean, I 100% get it. It's just,
and they've got a, you would talk about a bad track record. The extending offensive lineman is a bad track record too. Titus's contract was bad. Shaq's contract was bad. And if Ed Ingram ends up as a backup, that'll be a bad extension too.
I don't think Trent Brown as a $7 million swing tackle is too crazy. I think you could be crazier than that.
It's not, but $19 million for your backup guard and your backup tackle is a really bad use of assets.
Yeah, just like 12 mil or whatever it was with Cam Robinson was. It just sometimes it just be like that. Sometimes it just kind of falls that way. It's just a hypothetical of if Pregnon's on the roster, what I think the gymnastics and the shuffle could look like. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. I do think that this is, regardless of how you feel about these guys, I do think that their likelihood of impacting the draft and what the Texans may not do, not what they may do, what they may not do, I think it's higher than Cam Robinson. Like, Cam Robinson was just there.
Correct. Yeah, they knew they still needed somebody. I actually think while we're talking about Cam, I actually think the Cam Robinson the potential Cam Robinson is Braden Smith. Because you have a worthwhile challenger to his spot. Yeah.
And I think that was part of like the platoon for sure. But when I think Cam Robinson, I think young guy forces your ass on the bench.
Right. Not 34-year-old Trent Brown forces you to the bench. Yeah.
That's how I think. I think that is kind of like a platoon. Onzi chat, the Rebels in the house. Shout out to St. Louis Rebels.
Swarm.
St. Louis Rebel says the Texans will be the number 1 or number 2 seed in the AFC this year and host a divisional game at home. How about that? History calling his shot right there. It'll be the second year in the Nick Caley offense with a lot of key pieces returning on offense. I can definitely see it. Look at that. Look at the Rebel feeling good on a Monday.
I mean, look, I love the optimism, and it's easy to be optimistic when they've plugged some holes here in free agency. I'm wondering, okay, let's go through the exercise. What is it, 12 wins? You got to get to 12 wins probably to be at the top of the – well, no. Last year, you had to get to 14 wins to be one of the top 2 teams. So they'd have to be 2 wins better than they were last year.
Well, I would disagree with that because I think that there's going to be more pushback for Denver in the AFC West this year than there was last year. I think they lost 1 game in the division last year off the top of my head. I think there will be more pushback, so I think their win total naturally comes back. They could be a better team and lose less and win less games. Denver, I think the West becomes a little bit tougher.
Would you agree though that in the AFC as a whole, you probably need to get to 13?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's usually the money spot. Yeah.
Yeah, because 13 was Baltimore. They were the tops in 23. 13 and 15 was Buffalo, Kansas City in 24. And then last year was 14 and 14 with Denver and New England. Now, Denver going to get more pushback. New England going to play a real schedule. But even then, Jacksonville, they were ahead of you in your division. They had 13. So 13's the number. I mean, I have said if they had Joe Mixon, they'd probably win 2 more games last year. That would have got them to 14. I don't know exactly that I could put my finger on exactly which 2 games that was, but I'm trying to get to Rebels' level here of optimism.
It was just so much better when there were. I actually like the super wild card. So, but it was so much easier to reach this goal when 2 teams got buys. It's so hard now. And quite frankly, I always. Maybe it's me being kind of semantic, but I kind of roll my eyes when it's like, well, we got to find a way to play games at home. And it's like, sure, but it's not like you spin a roulette wheel or something like that and it lands on it. Like typically the team that is playing the most games at home is the best team in the league. Like, so yeah, you got to be the best team in the league. It's not like a luck thing. But I mean, that's basically what they're saying. It's me being extremely semantic, but yeah.
I mean, I think Denver has the chance to be as good of a team, but probably a more difficult schedule for them. Makes it tougher for them to get to that level. I don't think Jacksonville's going to be worse. I think the Patriots will be a little worse.
Yeah, the Patriots is going to be a little bit tougher for them too. So yeah, I like the optimism. Reb, shout out to you, my friend. We always appreciate you, amigo.
I mean, they put that together, then, I would assume that CJ's having one hell of a year.
Yeah, CJ's having a good year, and everything's going. The defense is still doing its thing, and the weapons and all that.
The swarm.
Alex Cruz says, other than core needs of DT, TE, LB, threw LB in there. I like it. Other guys I'd be okay with: Keontae Scott, Mike Washington. I trade up for Fano if he slides as a center.
So Keontae Scott's he's going to be a nickel in the NFL. He's from Miami. He's a DB, and
I don't need a safety like a DB really.
Well, the Texans didn't operate with a true Petrie backup, like somebody like that. If you were building the depth chart and Petrie had his own spot, you'd put behind him. Like there's not an individual player.
No,
that they didn't build the 53 man that way. So I don't anticipate them doing that this year. So that would eliminate Scott. Mike Washington's the running back from Arkansas, Mr. Speedy from the combine. And then Spencer Fano from Utah is apparently at the combine. He just blew people away. I don't know that many people expected or knew he was going to be willing to and ultimately work out at center. He played right tackle for Utah, and apparently he's told teams, I'll play whatever of the 5 positions you think I need to fit, which makes him more draftable by more teams because teams could give they could have the experiment of tackle, then move him inside, or they could just draft him as a guard or their starting center. Obviously, if Fano ends up anywhere near the Texans, it's worth having the conversation, especially if he's going to be able to play center.
Yeah, I think they could use a versatile alignment, honestly, like not like at Titus Howard price, but a versatile alignment to be able to adjust. There is some value in that, especially if they think he can be a really, really good center. Like if he can be a really, really good center, then that's a complete game changer. But that's the problem with Pregnon is, he's played a little bit of right guard, but he's pretty much an LG. So there's not like I talk about I talk about I forget who said it on the chat. Brandon brought up Pregnon is Larry Allen. And I use this example a lot just to kind of show. I mean, Larry Allen was a right tackle his first year, then he was a guard, then he played left tackle, then he was back to guard. So yeah, you wish you could kind of shuffle it around a little bit. But if he can play center, then that is a complete game changer. A center who can do other things. So
yeah, Fano's a freak too. He looks like a monster out there, and he's very good at Utah, and I expect he'll be pretty darn good in the league too.
Yep. Be interesting to see when he goes and when that would be. But yeah, those are some interesting names. Mike Washington, he ran the 4.3 at the combine. I don't know when he goes. I would think maybe he can sneak into day 2. But in this running back class, you never know. It's not fantastic.
I can't tell if these running backs are going to go earlier than they should because there's not as many good ones, or if the league's going to be like, well, there are not as many good ones, so we'll just wait. Like that's probably one of the great mysteries of day 2 is trying to figure out if someone's going to overdraft one of these running backs or some of these running backs, or if somebody's actually going to wait on them and then push them down the board for, frankly, other teams to make the investment, or maybe the Texans if they ended up with a late day 2 selection.
Yeah, maybe someone falls in your lap because it does seem like the investment in running back. It seems like majority of the teams have kind of done it. I like at some point to where they're not as desperate.
I know 2025 had a lot of guys, but 2024, the first running back came off the board at 46. Like obviously the first running back's coming off the board in the top 10 in Love.
5.
But top 5 with Love. That's what I meant to say. Top 4. Really, frankly, should be the Cardinals pick, but go on. Could Love go, let's just call it 4 to the Titans. Could Love go 4 to the Titans and the next time we see a running back come off the board is like 50? I don't think that's out of the question.
No, not at all. It's not at all. And the other interesting thing is going to be tight end. I think there's a tight end run in round 2 or 3. And I think it's going to be a heavy tight end run. Sadiq seems to be falling on like mock drafts. Take that for what you will. I do wonder, like with Sadiq, could Sadiq be this year's Tyler Warren, where we just assumed there's no way he falls to the Colts. That's not happening. And then I'll be damned, he falls to the Colts. Now, there was another tight end that kind of got in the way in Colson Loveland. There's no one, it appears, in Sadiq's way, but we did assume, and I don't think it was a crazy assumption that, and we knew it was the worst kept secret. Texans are doing a decent job of keeping it a better secret if they do love Sadiq, but it was a worst kept secret that the Indianapolis Colts, it was Tyler Warren or nobody, and they didn't have to give up shit. He fell right into their lap.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, and we're 31 days out from the draft, if Kenyon Sadiq gets to 20, and that's the Dallas Cowboys, I'd at least call and see what the deal is, what it would cost to move up the 8 spots and see, hey, let's get you a little draft comp. We know you traded some stuff here and there. You're chasing a pass rusher, so you might need the extra draft comp if a pass rusher becomes available for you. Because I don't think Pittsburgh would do it, but I think Pittsburgh needs to stick a pick with what they've got going on. And then you get into some weird spots there with the Chargers. They probably wouldn't do it, but it's not the craziest thing in the world. Philadelphia is obviously a big Sadiq landing spot. And then he kind of just sits until 27 at San Francisco, and they're a great Kenyon Sadiq landing spot too. So I would just eliminate any chance of somebody jumping up there if he started to slip, but I don't know that he's slipping. Tampa at 15 should probably take him.
Yeah, that's gonna be someone to watch. It's gonna be this is the most open that it's been, to where there's just so many possibilities for the Texans, and there's just a lot of flexibility. There's not like one blatant, they're gonna do this. It does feel like DT is perhaps the closest thing to that, but it doesn't feel as blatantly obvious.
All right, check me if I'm wrong about this here.
Okay.
We obviously saw what Loveland and Warren did last year at tight end. Very good. And they would be in a tier all their own away from Sadiq if they were all in the same draft class. But as untalented as that tight end room for the Texans is, like Kenyon Sadiq, even though he's not as talented as Warren and Loveland, could have a impact close to those guys for the Texans because they don't have any talent at that position
Outside of Schultz.
Yeah.
So and you can play both those guys at the same time. Yeah, I think the need can increase the impact for sure. Kyle Nance says, is it malpractice? They won't move up for a guard. I don't think it's malpractice.
Who's the move? Who's the guy? Like last year, I mean, they were rumored to be connected to Tyler Booker, who was the top guard in the draft. And Booker went way earlier than most people expected him to. The Cowboys took that big swing and stuck him over there on the right side, and he was really good right away. Who's the guy now? Because there's really only supposed to, in most people's eyes, supposed to be one first-round guard, Benga Ioane from Penn State. And then Pregnon's kind of in a tier all by himself. And then it's sort of that next tier of guards after that. Chase Basantis from Texas A&M, the Farmer kid from Kentucky, Shrouth from Notre Dame. There's a couple of more names like that. But if there was a guy that I was just like, yeah, go get him, it'd be a little easier to kind of say, oh, yeah, they should go get this guy. But they actually have, like, Wyatt Teller wasn't my favorite free agent, but can he go play 15 games for you this year and give you enough at left guard? Yeah, he absolutely can. So it feels a lot more have to than like last year. If they'd left the first 2 days without a wide receiver, we'd be pulling our hair out. They had to get wide receivers last year. There's not a have to get position this year.
Center. It feels like maybe center and DT.
But that doesn't rise to the same level that left tackle and wide receiver was a year ago.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But unless you thought Cam Robinson and Titus Howard were ready to hold it down.
No, we still wanted him to go get offensive linemen. Hell, I was praying for Tate Ratledge at guard. They still needed a guard this time a year ago.
So looking back at this money, we'll get back to the chat in a sec. So over $5 million annual value, under $10 million to the Texans. They're actually pretty good at this. Sheldon Rankins 1.0, Dalton Schultz, and then Sheldon Rankins and Foley Fatukasi right there. So in the middle of like the 5 and 10, they did a pretty decent job there.
Yeah, I was surprised there were not more contracts that fell into this category because it feels like they had a couple of hits. Obviously, Sheldon Rankins both times. This first deal was under $10 million, right under. The second one was like $6 million. This is the first Fatukasi deal, by the way, where he actually played a little bit, not the recent one where he didn't hardly play at all. And then Schultz, that first year it's like $6 million. It was a really good deal. I mean, they kind of waited. It was one of those like later waves of free agency. They kind of waited for it to pop up, and it did. But I was surprised there weren't more guys in this range, but they've had some really good cheaper guys that ended up being pretty solid signings for them.
Yep. And then you look at the under $4 million, actually really good at the under $4 million. When you look at this, like there's really not a ton of misses here unless Nick Chubb. I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures. He wasn't great, but that's really the one. And then maybe you can say Neville Hewitt, although he was pretty good at special teams, but there's not really a miss on here. George Fant was your best right tackle, maybe of the entire era. Devin Singletary was RB1. He catapulted that into more money. Noah Brown, CJ Stroud trusted him, especially off script. You can make a case he really hasn't been on the same page with someone like he was with Noah Brown off script. Tim Settle, he catapulted that into a nice contract. He did a good job there. Tommy Townsend, whatever. He was up and down. Hewitt, special teams. Derek Barnett, elite, especially the first time when you got him off the streets.
Well, this isn't even Barnett in 23 when they claimed him. This is the $2 million Barnett that was 2024, and he was excellent for $2 million.
Trent Brown up to $3 million, and you got him for almost half the season, never lost a game, especially given how he was hurt and the point in his career. That was fantastic. Mario Edwards, he filled in nicely when Autry kind of let you down with the suspension. So he did fine. The second extension was not great.
Mario Edwards was an under $2 million deal, by the way. Like, it was just – they just sprinkled some money and hoped for the best, and they got a really productive player for next to nothing.
EJ Speed, kind of like a Mario Edwards type of vibe where you got a steal and then you decided to run it back, and we'll see how that goes. Nick Chubb, whatever. Not good, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and then we'll see what happens with Foster Moreau and what he does at tight end. If you can just have a pulse, that would be great.
Yeah. So they've had some, like, I think the reason you don't have the big 1-year investments is because they've had so many successful, just like little small dice rolls. Now they've had some misses in that range too, but I think in that range, a hit does more for you than a miss does to hurt you, because they have done a good job of trying. I'm not saying they did, but trying not to rely on those really cheap guys that were, a minimum investment, and then it didn't really work out because they had numerous guys like that.
And then not so pretty. The minimal, decent money, minimal. Andrew Beck, Akuda, Michael Ford, Nick Niemann. You can see the list. Darrell Taylor, Laken Tomlinson, Justin Watson, Foley Fatukasi, 2.0. And then Ridgeway and Shaq. Not great.
Okuda was nearly a $5 million deal, and he basically never had a chance to make the team because Kamari was so good.
Well, he made the team, and it wasn't great. He got his jock ripped off against the Cowboys. I remember that one.
Yeah.
Turpin. Yeah, that was not great. All right, so that's the money. Let's go back to the chat here on SNL. Join us this Friday at Spanky's.
Swarm.
Beta Aaron says the Spank Boys will return for Avengers Doomsday.
That's something they put at the end of comic book movies to kind of tell you when the character's going to pop up next.
JB the Annihilator says, I can super chat on my phone again. Appreciate you, my friend. Now I have nothing to say except DT first round no matter what. And glad to have the S back in the SNL. Me too, my friend. Yeah, Caden McDonald seems to be the name, and I would be very happy with Caden McDonald. Nasty mofo, run stopper. I think he would fit in very nicely here. Yeah,
just a day one run stuffer at the NFL level. At Ohio State, I thought this was this note was in Todd McShay's mock draft where he mocked Caden McDonald to the Houston Texans. 3 less tackles for Caden McDonald than Arvell Reese, who's one of their standout defenders, who's going to go top 10, and Caleb Downs, who's one of their standout defenders, who's going to go top 10. So he was in there making his money at the interior, and the guy was a wall at different times. It was tough for teams to run on Ohio State because he was so damn good.
The guy who wears Cody's Halloween costume for every game, Cade McDonald.
Yep. Go find that picture. And
Will Royboy says, did y'all see Pete Prisco's power ranking for CBS last week? Nope. Next one. He had more. Texans at 17th, Vikings, Lions in front of us, Jags at 5, and Broncos at 4, Bills at 3. Now, I did not see anything Pete Prisco said or did or anything like that. He's kind of boomed his way off my radar, kind of a bit at this point.
Yeah, I mean, putting the Vikings ahead of them would be stupid.
I am kind of intrigued to see what Kyler looks like, but yeah, I did not see Pete Prisco's power ranking. Rich Boy J says, are there any players on the team who we aren't certain to be ready to go for training camp?
What Rich Boy's asking is, who's the next Joe Mixon? Christ, I hope nobody, rich boy.
Tank's probably got to still get cleared for contact, right?
I would assume that we'll get like a clear picture of Tank when OTAs are here in June.
I think he'll be out there for OTAs. Yeah, but clear for contact a little bit different. You got to see that. What was it? A meniscus for Jalen Smith?
Yeah, I would think he'll be fine.
Yeah. So no, I don't think there's anyone that wouldn't be ready to go.
I mean,
that I can think of.
Yeah, everybody. It seems like finished kind of the year pretty healthy, or didn't have some sort of like long-term thing that you're necessarily worried about. Of course, Joe Mixon is healthy-ish at the end of the year, and the next thing you know, he never played again. So hopefully no Joe Mixon scenarios pop up.
Rodzilla _2000 says, can y'all explain why NFL teams always try to outdo each other with these contracts? Not saying JSN and Puka shouldn't get paid, but it feels excessive. Same thing with Stingley and Sauce last year. Like the agent's goal is to make him the highest paid, and a lot of times it's just kind of the cost of doing business. So I think I don't know that it's the teams as much as it is the agents and the players trying to get the highest. So I don't know that I would blame the players for this, or the teams.
Well, and the teams are happy to create a scenario where the headline and the money, the big money, looks huge, and then it's a situation where they can actually maneuver and navigate. And the teams have been acceptable to an idea of, hey, let's just have this giant last year of the contract that really bumps up the average annual value, knowing that we're not going to pay it and we'll just renegotiate by then. It's like teams kind of play with the team. And obviously, if you're willing to sign the guy and even have the conversation, you're willing to sort of play ball at that level. And the last guy or the next guy to the table always tries to get more than the last guy if they're worth it. And Puka would do the same to JSN.
That Fort Worth guy on the chat says, do you think the Chiefs paid Kelsey 3 years, $54 million to keep Swift coming to Chiefs games? It can't be because of his play. Schultz looking good now.
Yeah, I think there've been a couple of different people kind of clarify here. It's essentially a 1-year deal that can go up to $15 million. It's really not what has been reported.
Yeah, I think, who'd you say? You said, when I was talking to you about this, you said Texans cap kind of called out the reporting of it.
So Cap had the initial call out was like, it's definitely not a 3-year, $55 million deal. And he even said LOL to it. And apparently there's like a date in the contract
where they can void it, or
where it just makes sense for both of them to part ways post June 1st. And basically Kelsey retires. So this is Travis Kelce's final year in the NFL.
I don't think Travis Kelce wants to play 3 more years.
No, this feels like some goofy accounting just to make it work.
Ashton on the chat says, honestly, I think this could be our biggest draft in our history. So many options. This could be what pushes us over the BS hump. We love to stay behind. The opportunity is there. I would agree with you 100%. I think, like, when you start saying historical, I would agree with you too. I would say 2023 was obviously important because it was the first of D'Amico, and you got 2 guys who you felt good on both sides of the ball, second and third. But now, I don't want to say it's the last hoorah, but it's really kind of trying to maximize the rookie window of those guys. And you probably need to get some young talent that can not only help you have some financial freedom to extend this era, whether it's with Will Anderson, with CJ Stroud, or both, but also help you immediately. So, yeah, I would agree from a historic perspective, this is massive.
Well, a draft like this too, just they've had a lot of success on day 2 the past couple of seasons. So we're a little bit more aware of it now, but you want this to be a draft where in 5-6 years, you're looking at it's like starter. Like the opportunity to litter this roster with cost-controlled starters in 2-3 seasons is really high. And so if they can do that when they're already paying some of these guys that are expensive and are going to pay even more guys, we hope and think getting some cost-controlled good players is the key to making sure that you stay where you are right now. And having that additional depth this year is part of the hope, to go beyond where you were last year.
Yeah, and some people want to go beyond where they were last year in their backyard. You don't want to stay where you are. You want to go outside and enjoy some of this great weather. And Ace Outdoor Solutions can put your vision to practice.
Ace Outdoor Solutions, Zach and his crew do a fantastic job from pergolas to pools to something as simple as a fence fix or as complicated as that dream.
What a pergola is. You just say that like everyone knows.
It's an outdoor patio covering, and it's got typically slits in it and allows in a little bit of sunlight. But maybe you want a steel patio cover. Maybe you want a beautiful wood patio cover with ceiling fans in it and a sound system. It's all custom with Ace Outdoor Solutions. You can do it all, from custom patio coverings to a custom pool to a new fence. They do it all, and they'll get you that free quote when you give them a call. Zach's a Texans fan just like you. He covers the Houston area and the greater Houston area, so he's been doing it for a decade, and he wants to bring that dream backyard that you have to reality. If you've been thinking about it, you've been dreaming about it, make it a reality with Ace Outdoor Solutions.
Swarm.
Onzi chats. Kyle says he's mad at McDonald at 28 and Dunker at 38, Lou 59.
I think he's asking, would we be mad if that was the draft? That's Caden McDonald from Ohio State, the defensive tackle. That's Jennings Dunker, the tackle/guard from Iowa, and Connor Lew, the center from Auburn.
That's too much O-line for me.
I don't know that you want to use – I mean, Dunker is the type of guy that needs to probably get a little seasoning before you're ready to play him. Like, I'd be worried if I was having to play him right away if I was an NFL team, because he's going to have to change positions. I think you could find something better at 59 than Lou that could help you out more, or better at 38 that could help you out more than Dunker. But yeah, it might be a little bit too much O-line.
Wow. You've changed, bro. Rich Boy Chase says, is your boy General Soreness going to make an appearance?
God, I hope not.
The CJ Stroud General Soreness thing? They made that really weird. They could have just been normal about that, and that wouldn't have blown up, but that was fun.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he actually has something wrong with his arm and they're just hiding it.
I don't know. Would they hide it? Would it be good to get out? Who knows?
I mean, every offseason we heard about a mysterious Tom Brady injury that they hid in New England. So, yeah, I think Nick Caserio would hide it.
I asked this question yesterday in the locker room. Am I too comfortable with the wide receivers? There's been a lot of pushback to the notion that the Texans are good at wide receiver. You factor in Nico Collins and the availability when you need it most sometimes. You factor in the fact that you have two guys that you might feel good about that are heading into their second year, but you never know. And you have Xavier Hutchinson on his last year and Tank Dell, who I think it's extreme to expect him to be a unquestioned top of the depth chart guy in a good wide receiver room. Is there too much comfort at wide receiver right now?
I don't think so. I would think that some of your comfort comes from the fact that you have high expectations for Jalen Noel, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like Jalen Noel a lot, and I think Jaden Higgins is going to be good too. So yes, I feel very good about those two guys.
Like
if Hutchinson's established himself as a solid 4.
Like if you didn't think highly of Jalen Noel, you would probably be hoping that they added one more wide receiver.
Yes, and there has to be a jump from both Noel and Higgins. Like,
Sure.
That's what you get this year, then yeah, you're screwed. Then we're talking about a year from now, they better add some receivers.
Sure. And would you like to upgrade over Xavier Hutchinson? Yes, but how do you do it? What's the cost? I mean, I wouldn't use the 38th overall pick on upgrading the 4th wide receiver spot. I'd use the 38th overall pick to upgrade something that's, very clearly going to be used in 2026.
And I don't want to sit here and act like he's Trent Brown or anything like that, but like the way that we were talking about Trent Brown when they first signed him was, well, they need someone to kind of platoon. Like the reality is that unless something happens that has never happened, you're going to have to play a ball game or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever without Nico Collins. So that kind of increases the manner in which you look at the wide receiver room with concern or whatever you want to call it.
I also don't like this. Like, I didn't like the free agency class, and I don't like the draft class at wide receiver either. Not to say that, you shouldn't try, because you're going to bring what? How many guys they bring to camp? 14, something like that. You're going to bring guys to camp. But like, there's not somebody hanging out in free agency that I'm just like, ooh, got to get him. Like, I mean, I like Westbrook Akine, but like you don't have to have him.
You can't quit him.
I just think he's a useful football player.
Viro Maniac on the chat says, I don't know about y'all. If Jacob Rodriguez is available at 38, got to take him. I can see him in Toho and Aziz rotation.
I would think that Rodriguez probably is a pretty thumbs up prospect from the Texans, but I would also
think.
I would think so.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, but I don't think they would draft him at 38. Like, he's not a player that they wouldn't draft.
I don't know that they like him as much as a lot of people do. He's awesome, though. I think I said he's this year's scatterable.
Correct, but I think there are players that they just would like. They would not draft the defensive tackle from Florida State. Farmer. Low motor guy on the interior. That's not how they operate. Like, at some point, they draft Rodriguez. They just probably wouldn't prioritize him as somebody else, like at that position over somebody else.
Yeah, Rodriguez is a popular guy, though, around here. Good Lord, the dude's popular.
It's strange that he's probably too low when the offseason process started, and he's probably getting a little too high as the process carries on here.
Yeah, and we got plenty of time. We got a month time to be exact, and we got you covered right here. Join us at Spanky's again this Friday, Sharpstown location. We will be there. You better be there. I can already taste the pizza and wings right now. Although tonight, after the Texans Collective, I will be eating at Taste of Texas for the 3-year anniversary.
Oh,
I will be going to Taste of Texas. I haven't eaten all day. Walked 5 miles and felt like I was going to faint, but I have not eaten all day. I'm saving it for that salad bar. That's going to be my first bite of the day. That salad bar when the ranch and lettuce just hit the lips.
you're not a you don't like the jalapeno cornbread, do you?
It's pretty hard to pass up a piece or two of that.
Yeah.
You're the ultimate. Oh God, at Taste of Texas. This is probably like a 30-minute process with you.
Well, you've never been with me, but go ahead and just lie on my name like you're going to usually do.
This is a 30-minute process. You're definitely a walk back and pick your steak guy.
Oh God, no.
You're a walk back with them and check out the butcher shop and pick your steak. I'll take that one right there.
Why would I do that? I just trust the professional back there.
You are. I just let them pick the best.
Yeah, I would just,
I might do it as a bit today just to go pick my steak now.
Swarm.
Will Royboy on Z Chat says, as long as they draft players that can support the team enough to avoid a roller coaster season last year, we forget they were ugly in the first month.
I mean, that's not I don't know if that was the draft picks' fault. I felt like that was more of a Kaylee CJ free agent veterans fault.
Yeah, I mean, Higgins and CJ were not getting on the same page early. That is for damn sure. I actually felt like the groove got going with Mills. Mills started kind of feeding the beast that was Jaden Higgins.
That's when Higgins is, what was it? He went from a couple of targets a game to nearly 5 targets a game. Yeah.
You think Higgins is coming in jacked this year?
Nah.
Yeah, same look. Hannah McNair gets more power. Do you have a take on this?
I was unaware she lacked power in the organization prior to this.
Yeah, I'm going to get into this on the night stream. I don't have like a crazy take about it. I do think she's going to be the key to getting out of NRG. I think she's going to really, really elevate this, which I'm fine with. Get them in the burbs around some activity. I think she will do that, but I don't look at this as anything too crazy. I think I don't think like she's going to be any more vocal or less vocal with the role. So I don't think it's a big deal, but I do think this is her baby. Like this new practice facility is the first like Hannah McNair putting her stamp on things type of thing. And I think she'll do good with it.
Yeah, you want to talk about interacting with the community. How about basically building a brand new community way out, where they are? I mean, they're transforming a community and they'll make some money off that, and it'll allow them to continue to put back into the community.
Yep, will be interesting. Congratulations to her on her new title. Join us on the Texans Collective. That's coming up in an hour. Locker room tonight at 10:30. Cody is back. Thank you to everyone who donated for his gas money after he lost his ass in Lake Charles. We appreciate y'all for your help.
I have never lost at the slots and table games like I did at this trip. This is my worst tables and slots loss ever. And I go gambling, 4 or 5 times a year, set aside the money, take it, and all that kind of stuff. But I did pretty good on the sports betting. I had a couple of all these college basketball experts that watch all year, their picks sucked. Guy who didn't watch college basketball all year, just like, yeah. Bailed myself out a little bit.
Notice he didn't mention the desperate trip to the ATM and paying the $10 fee that took place 5 times with on top of that money that he took. He failed to mention that, but yeah.
So the new bit to avoid the $10 is you get one of your buddies that's got cash. You'd be like, hey, let me Venmo you for the cash.
Not bad.
Yeah, so you save yourself the ATM fee.
It's actually pretty smart. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to join us at Spanky's this Friday. God, I can't believe the draft is almost here. Draft party. I guess it would be a month and 2 days from today on the Saturday of the draft. Going to be huge. We look forward to giving you that information as stuff goes down. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.